Okay, another week. I'll show you what I'm doing right now. So I put this citrus strip on the air cleaner. So you just wipe it out, put it on with a brush, and then cover it with some plastic. You can see all the paint that came off. And I think the way to clean this up is I'll use my pressure washer. Now, this is all the rust that was underneath that paint. Stuff works good though. I think I'll do one more coat on the inside. And here where I missed it for some reason. I have to go to the dentist later, so I'll just let it. Anyway, it's soaked overnight. What does it say? So you just pour it in and just spread it around and then cover it with plastic. I probably put too much on, but the key to this stuff is to try to keep it wet. So it'll dry out, so I'll lay plastic on top of here. Yeah, just lay plastic on it and try to push it all down. The wetter it stays, or the longer it stays moist, the longer it has time to work. So right now it's 9:30, 9:40 in the morning. It's gonna be hot today, so I got up early. And I just pushed this piece down inside here tight everywhere I could. You can see the paint's already starting to peel. See what's wrinkling up? Yeah, this is how I paint my bolt heads. Yeah, I painted the timing marks white. So I was letting it dry. I'm gonna see if I can see if the paint sticks in the timing marks and nowhere else. I'm gonna sand it down. Yeah, it did work. So I got the pointer painted white and timing is 10. I really should put a marker here. It's really hard to see this on the timing light. And then I just stuck this pulley on. Yeah, I'm just gonna put some paint right here. This is top dead 10 before top dead center. I'm thinking about this oil pressure on and off again. It's a real bitch to get in there later. Again, all it's going to do is say, hey, you're out of oil, light on. That's not what I'm going to have to switch it. I'm just not going to be able to use the gauge on my instrument panel. It's useless. And the reason I'm going to do it now is because once I put the fan on, it's just a bitch to get in here. Okay, I got the fuel pump back on. I got the new temperature for the oil pressure unit. Got the timing mark. Yeah, I think it was 9:40 when I put the stuff on. You can see the paint is already. So I'm not going to work late into this heat today. I'm going to go pressure wash it now. It's almost 11. Yeah, look how good that cleaned it. If you got clean metal underneath without rust, this is what you get. So you don't get all that sanding dust that goes everywhere, including your lungs. Okay, I sandblasted the rest of it. So, first coat. Okay, I flipped it over and painted that this morning. I think I'm gonna paint this spacer, the sides. And I've been working on this engine, getting it in there. The manifold, muffler, bell housing. Instrument panels are just sitting in there. Battery, hoses. Still got the alternator. And hook up some other stuff tomorrow. A pressure washer, I've got a flat tire. I found out it's cheaper to buy a tire and rim from Harbor Freight. This costs like $10. If you go to like a lawnmower shop or online, it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much. Tube and tire, $10. Yeah, more information than you need to know. The gasket for this 2-barrel is 60094-1. What I noticed is, I was talking about these holes, I think, the other day. Yeah, it has to go like this. So you get vacuum. But when you put this on, let's see. Yeah, now those holes work. Okay, number one cylinder's at top dead center. Top dead center. Yeah, I want to show you something here. So this is the carburetor I got off Amazon. And here's the air cleaner. It's not going down all the way. And the reason is these tabs right here. Let me get this thing out of the way. For this stock carb, it doesn't have those tabs. So when I put the air cleaner on, it drops right in. So, I rebuilt this carburetor. It should be fine. I just wanted to use the other one because it was cleaner. What I like about these tabs is they locate where this goes. But I guess if you get rid of the tabs, you could put the air cleaner in any direction. But again, I made this slot here for my distributor because I have the HEI distributor. Because I don't even know what this is. I don't know what that is. Something to do with the accelerator pump. But see, this doesn't have that mess. Okay, we know I have it on top dead center. So I can drop the distributor in. I put some pre-lube on the gear here. You can put this any way you want, but I think they show this on the Ford cars facing this way. But I'll just drop it in, then I'll show you what I decide. Yeah, I've showed this before, but if you don't know, it's on top dead center. So wherever that thing points at is number one spark plug. But I wanted to put it over here, but when I put it in, it just isn't dropping into the gear. I don't know why. In other words, it's not going all the way down here. So, but if I put it over here, it goes right in. I'm not sure how to change that. Let me try a different position. Again, I want it over here. I don't know why. Or maybe I want it pointed at number one. Let's try that. That's number one cylinder. Go a little bit this way. That's good. So number one, that is number one. I got plenty of room to move this vacuum canister to adjust the timing. So So anyway, that's number one. That's all I wanted to show. It's on the timing mark, top to the center. The piston's all the way up on number one. That is number one. So I can't remember how I hit it before, but let's see, there's a, if I remember correctly, I put a white mark on here. Oh yeah, the white mark is this groove. So I'm gonna have to change these spark plug wires around. Make sure all these are pointing out. Line up my groove. Can't see it from over here. It's fighting, these wires are fighting me. Let go. That's it. Remember, number one is right here. I just want to check it one more time because I'm getting old. I forget everything. Yeah, number one is right here. Okay, I got some more stuff hooked up. Right now I'm trying to remember how I did all this wiring. Yeah, I'm just going to throw this in again. I've already went over this, but so the car came with a generator, the Galaxie. So I wanted the one. I think they call these one-wire alternators, but really it's three. So what's going on here is, here's the back of the alternator, and you have this plug that plugs in. So really, what runs this is this wire right here. This is coming from the key switch. And then there's a plug. If you buy a plug like this, I bought this off Amazon. So they also sell a plug like this with a red wire and a white wire. The white wire has a diode. I'll talk about that in a second. So it just plugs in, and this other second wire goes to this terminal. Then this terminal, it goes to the battery basically, which is here. See, here's my battery cable. So really this is going to the battery. So this is your charge. This is charging. This is the alternator charging the battery. So when I bought this wire, they had a diode in backwards. The diode means that the power can only run one way. So what happened, if you go back to one of my videos, I think it was the runaway engine. I can't remember now, but somewhere in there, it would not turn off because this diode was backwards. So if I can't do this with one hand, but if I was to put a continuity meter from here, from here back to the I terminal, it would be dead, I guess. And I should probably show this, but anyway, you got to have a diode in here. The power cannot run back through this way. If it does, your engine will not shut off. So what I did is I just cut the wire, and I cut the wire and turn it around. And I looked on Amazon, and some other people had the same problem. But anyway, that's all it is. That's how this thing hooks up. Key. So really the key is the excite wire, because this is run, not crank. You know, crank is starter turning, but so this is always hot. And then it'll charge. Without that, it won't charge, because this is exciting the alternator. And then it's charging back to the battery. If that makes sense. Let me see if I can show you this somehow. Yeah, I'm going to explain this a little bit further. So I have a voltmeter. On this voltmeter and a lot of voltmeters, there's resistance and there's tone. So I'm going to turn it to tone. Tone means if you have a good wire, or if you don't have a break in your wire, you'll get a tone. So you can't see that, but you don't need to. So I'm just going to explain this the easiest I can. So I have a full circuit. Let me just untangle these wires. So I'm going to stick one end into the white wire. So let's just make sure I'm making contact. I am. So if I follow the white wire, again, this is key on wire. Turn your key on, not cranking, but turning it on. So do I have a full circuit? No. So I don't know if you can see this, but just trust me, the white wire is just going back to my run. But there's a diode in here. So now if I had to reverse this wire, so I had cut the wire. So if I disconnect this right here, now I have a full circuit. Or a complete circuit, however you want to say it. Now I don't. Now I do. The diode is allowing the alternator not to backfeed into the key if the key is on run. I went over all this stuff before, and I'm not very good at making videos, but that's it. Again, I'll go over this one more time. To use these one-wire alternators, this is a GM alternator, but basically this is a battery terminal, and they call this 1 and 2. There's an R and an F, so F is field, I guess. But so again, all you're doing to get rid of your generator, you take the wire from the run to the alternator. The other wire goes to the battery terminal. There's a B here somewhere, I think. Yeah, there's a B here. You're running the red wire to the B terminal. The B terminal is the battery charge. Once the fan bell starts turning, runs back through to your solenoid, which is where I have my hot battery, or plus, red, whatever you want to call it. That's it. Now the problem is, now this has got an internal regulator also. The problem is with the 64 Galaxie, let me pick up the phone now. There's a regulator down near if you're standing in front of the car, be the right side. If you're on the if you're sitting behind the steering wheel, it'd be on the left side. There's a regulator. The problem is that now I'm going to have all these wires running down to that regulator that I don't need. So in a future video, I'm going to go over how you eliminate the regulator in the car, because you don't need it anymore. This is the regulator. The regulator's in here. Yeah, I might be over explaining this, but I mean, I had to figure it out. There's a ton of videos, but for some reason I have to do things myself to figure it out. Now, the other thing is, I do not have a ground wire under this regulator, under this alternator. And the reason I don't have a ground wire is when I put the bolt through, it's going to ground the alternator to the engine block. And the engine block's going to come back to the battery. But there is a grounding block right here. If you could always add a ground if you again, use your tone and your on your voltmeter and your resistance to check to see if you have a good ground. If you touch your engine block to your negative terminal and you don't, and it doesn't tone, then you have a bad ground. If you can follow that. All these wires are running to the regulator. We are not going to need all these wires anymore. Again, I'll talk about that in the future. But basically, it's just power running from the battery to the regulator back into the fuse box. So I'm just going to keep going on this. So if you have a 64 289, it came with a generator. Here it is. We're going to go over to the 302 in a second. You got this big old bracket here. So we're on the left side, water pump, left side. Okay, now we're on the same side, left side. So now the generators are gone. This will, again, you could put this on the 289 if you wanted to. You just need these two brackets. I bought these by mistake. When I bought this 302, it had the brackets, but you just need this. You can buy this off Amazon and this off Amazon. Cheap. But that's what they look like. So I'll get the best shot I can. So that bracket here just bolts right here on the water pump. Here and here. And here. And a spacer. The plug-in that I was showing earlier is in the back down there. And then you need this other bracket that goes right there to here. That's it. Yeah, I forgot I got to put this power steering pump on. I need to take this bracket off and clean it. I mean, I pressure washed it, but it's still filthy. So it's taking me a while to put this engine started up because I'm cleaning everything as I'm going. And I just have it looped, so it's not really doing anything. But I still need it on for my fan belt. Yeah, I just found a problem. I mean, it's not a problem, I can fix it, but again, this is a remanufactured 302. This is not a 68. I'm not sure what year it is. It doesn't really matter, but if you look right in here, this piece here, I do not think that was on my other 302, or it wasn't sticking out as far, but now I can't tighten the belt. When I pull the alternator, it hits. So I can just grind that bolt off, or I can grind this off. I mean, I'm not using that. I don't know what it's for. Maybe I'll go see if in the manual, the 68 LTD, what that bracket is for. Maybe they had the alternator down low. If they did, how did they get the heater hose in? What is that for? Anyway, I'm either going to grind this off or cut that bolt off. It's just that it's close. It's close. I mean, if I hit there, it's going to ground out and short my whole system. Well, blow the fuse. So, okay, I fixed that clearance problem. I cut some of this off. I cut some of that bolt off. Now there's plenty of room. sprayed the power steering pump and the bracket, but I just realized this is the one that came off the LTD. Maybe I don't need it. Okay, I got the power steering pump on for, I guess this was off the LTD, but anyway, the bracket goes here. Here's the adjustment. Here's the through bolt. It goes through there. You gotta have a washer here, a big thick washer. So that's what I did so far, and I painted this last night. Now, figure out what I want to do next. Let's see, I guess this wire goes down the oil pressure, and this wire must go on the oil pressure, water temperature up here. Yeah, there is one problem here. If you watch right there, it hits. So I got to find out where the timing is. If it's over past here, I can just take the cap off and put it over here. So now I just go back to hooking up wiring. I'm almost there now. Let's see. Got the alternator on, steering pump, fan belts, hoses, spark plugs, distributor, carburetor. I'm gonna have to put that on. And there's one more problem. I mean, again, this was off the engine that I got out of the 68. I think it's 68 LTD. But there's also a power steering pump in the 64 Galaxie. That I might use or might not use, I don't know. Depends. We'll see what happens in the future. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this wire goes to, it's coming off the ignition. So I'm pretty sure it plugs into the battery side of the coil. And then this other wire coming from here is the tachometer. I'm pretty sure that goes into there because it's battery and tach, but okay, I put water in the radiator. I was right about those wires. They're hooked in now to the distributor. But I decided to crank it over before I decided to crank it over to see if I was getting fuel. Well, guess what? The fuel pump went out. So to make it easy, I removed the power steering pump. Again, it's a lot easier on the engine stand. So tomorrow, if the fuel pump comes in, I'll start this sucker. Yeah, it's the next day. While I'm waiting for that fuel pump to get delivered. There's a battery tray shot off Amazon. I think it looks the same. Well, I'll pull it out and find out. All these bolts are frozen. I got this one to spin, but I can't get it loose. I'm just gonna break this thing apart. And then see what's underneath here. Maybe I'll cut this with a grinder. So I decided to cut the rod out. It's no big deal. But you see the way this looks right here? This is not the same. So I'm gonna have to get rid of this piece. By the way, the easiest way to get something like this off, if you look real close, I'll point. You see there? There's spot welds. 1, 2. I think there's another one right there. So I'll just drill those out. And look, it's rusted underneath anyway. Yeah, while I'm on the subject, the best way to get spot welds out if you're doing body work, you saw how I showed the rivets. Well, if you can't see the rivets, get one of these things. Sand along the seam. The rivet is going to be low. It'll show up. Now, these are Harbor Freight. And they're reversible. You notice there's blades on both sides. So either drill a small hole first into the rivet once you find it, or punch it. If not, this thing will, it'll slip around like that. But they also sell this tool right here. There's a tip on it. You probably can't see it. That's what I used. So again, I have no idea how this was originally, but that's not going to matter. That just kind of holds the battery. This over here, I don't want this big old hunk of metal that's not doing any good, so I'm going to cut it right here and fold it up kind of like this side. Not perfect, I just don't need that junk. Okay, I made a battery hold down. Not the prettiest thing, but it hooks in here. Yeah, I'm just going to trace this from the bottom. Weight on it so it won't move. Don't have to be perfect, but that's pretty close. And you want a gap. Okay, the metal is real thin, but this is how you do it if you've never welded. I'm not an expert, but I'm just telling you what I learned. So you got thin metal. What you want to do is tack it on the good metal, and then tack it, and then slowly build it over to the bad metal, if that makes sense. And big holes, same thing. Start on the good metal. Keep tacking to the good metal, to the good weld, until it fills the gap. I never did make it to pick up the fuel pump, so I got sidetracked into doing this battery stuff. So one more time on the battery. So here's the piece I made. This is left over from the Trans Am. This is one of those I don't know, capture nuts that they use on cars, but got a little hook. That's it. And then that long piece will go on top. This way I can take it out if I want. But I ran out of paint. Use these kind of nuts. They're all over most cars. Anyway, I ran out of paint. I don't have the fuel pump. Gotta let this cool. Oh yeah, and I had cut this piece off that was here. I guess it was like that. Anyway, I cut it off and folded that up. Just making it work what I have. Yeah, this is the scrap I got left over just from that stupid battery tray.